Good morning, everyone. Welcome to iAM Live, where we're going to chat about HR tech wrecks today. This is going to be a fun one. We've been looking forward to this. It's going to be some great storytelling with Grace Hixson. She is joining us today, one of our senior consultants. How's everyone doing? We were having some fun chats in the green room backstage.
Yeah,
International travel. It's a great way to start the day.
that's right. That's right. Good to see you, ladies. So glad to be here.
Wow.
Let me open us in prayer, as we always do on this lovely broadcast. We always invite the Lord here. So just bow with me for a moment. Lord Jesus, we thank you for this time together. Thank you for Grace being here to share some of her tech wreck stories. And we just ask your blessing over each of us and every listener, whether live or later, as that you bless them in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Grace, where are you joining us from today? Where are you at? Atlanta. So we have Atlanta and Charlotte this morning.
Yeah.
So the chat is open. Let us know where you're joining us from. Grab your coffee, all that good stuff, and join us. We're excited to have you here. Thanks. And we're going to dive right in.
Yes.
All right. Who wants to go first? Tammy, I know you got some good stories. Grace, you probably came with a whole list. Let's dive into your tech wreck.
Yeah, the tech wrecks. I just want to start by saying, sometimes you might hear this. And you might see this. Yeah. Okay.
We promised we'd bring the fun.
This is so annoying, right? But this sound is annoying, just like the tech wrecks we experience, right, Grace? We
Yes.
end up going into rescue, which we're grateful for, but it's so hard sometimes because you see them falling off the edge and you just want to bring them back. So, Grace, I'm going to turn it over to you as I'm in my paramedic. That's why I'm Tambulance there, the Tambulance for HR Tech. But Grace is my counterpart as well. So, Grace, what kind of stories do you have? Maybe highlight one of your lowlights of a tech wreck.
Oh my goodness. I joined this organization and they were like, we have a wonderful system. It works so great. I was like, what does it do? And they were like, and that's why we hired you. They told us it did everything. And I said, okay, well, what do you want it to do? We want you to figure it out. Oh, all right. Well, we're about to make some magic happen. Okay, so if you could just show me your policies and procedures, and they were like, and you're going to have to write those. What's the budget? You have to have money to do that? They don't have a free version of anything? Oh, can I have a laptop? Is that in the budget? Or is this just a scroll? Or am I just a chisel in the stone? How are we going to work that out? So they gave me the equivalent of an HR system that was a chisel and a stone. And it was literally, you can only put the employee profile information. And I was like, so when you said everything, that was a loose term. It meant you just wanted the employee information. And they were like, no, we want data analytics and we want AI. I was like, not in this system. No, this one. And they were like, oh, but it does that. I said, where does it does that? And they were like, but we hired you to tell us. And I said, and I'm telling you, it doesn't do that. And they were like, well, the salesperson told us it did. I said, did they show you in the demo? They said, they have demos for these systems.
Okay.
So they had no requirements. They had no idea how they wanted it to work. They had no policies, processes, or procedures. They didn't know any. They just knew that at their size, they should have an HR system. And they looked to me to build it all from scratch and then said, you know what? After you finish building, oh no, by the way, we need you to take over benefits and we need you to take over payroll and we need you to do some operations too and some Power BI data analytics and cast them. And I was like, well, where's the tech department? And they were like, and I'm sure you can learn it.
Oh my.
Oh, firemen, please. I felt like I was the whole force.
Yeah.
Police department. I was the fireman. I was the paramedics. I was the doctor operating on myself.
It sounds like they were sideways. I mean, I don't want to bash any of our experiences because what we do, right, Grace, we go in with an open heart and really wanting to help our clients. That sounds like an employment wreck in some ways because you were employed by them, right? Uh,
Yes.
yeah, and that might have been a job description gone awry. Hello, we just rewrote the whole thing. But I that you talk about demos, and honestly, that's probably if we were to sit here and just one liner it, what are the things we see out there that are causing tech wrecks? Like, how are we? What do we see when we talk to our clients for the first time, maybe, and learn about what they're doing that we immediately, the flags, the lights are going off of, uh-oh. For me, so be thinking of what you want to talk about. For me, I would say the commonality I see a lot is, hey, we got this system, it isn't doing what they said it would do, and so we want to just change. We're just going to go. We've already started seeing demos and like they speed forward because let's face it, y'all, demos can be fun. They can be like, sparkly and, rainbows, and we're having a good time here. We can see all the things it's going to do for us. The problem is that I find is many times the client in the sales cycle, first of all, they're jumping the gun. They're already in
Yes, we rush to the end.
yeah, they're already in a demo and they haven't defined even their why. What are they trying to achieve? Why are they doing this? What do they want to accomplish? And then your requirements, all the things we know, the methodology that works. But what's sad is they can sometimes do this unknowingly. They're unguarded. So there is not what I call the advocacy consultant with them. Somebody like you, Grace, who would sit there with them while they're being demoed and be the one to ask the salesman the questions because we know in our own experience how these things can get bamboozled. And then the client is so enamored by what they're seeing in the demo that for they don't even realize this isn't going to meet their needs. Have you seen that before? Because I certainly hear about it a lot.
Oh my goodness. I was talking to some people a few weeks ago and they were like, well, we want a project manager. And I was like, great, that's fantastic. And then they were like, we've already hired implementation experts. And I said, oh, okay. Well, when is the project manager going to come on? Well, we're going to bring the project manager on about 2 months after the implementation. And I was, why would we do that? And they were like, oh, well, the implementation told us to do it. And I said, just out of curiosity, how long did they say that it was going to take? They said, well, first, they told us that they're going to look around the system for 400 hours. I said, are they going to process map out your process? Oh, no. Why would they do that? I said, for 400 hours?
Mm.
They need to do that. And she was just like, but why? That doesn't make any sense. I said, well, you don't have a project manager. So they're going to start off asking you 1,000 questions and you're not going to be prepared. That's number one. Number two, you're going to go over budget. Period. You're about to go. I can tell you now you're about to go over budget. And she said, why? I said, because you have absolutely no actual plan for when these people are going to start. And they're counting on this. That's why they told you it was going to take 400 hours. They're counting on you to not be responsive. And she was just like, why? I was just like, I don't know. I said, I'm sure they're wonderful. They're great. They do all the things that I do. She was telling me all these wonderful things. And I was just like, yes, that's the best practice of being a great implementer. That's the best deployment strategy that there is. But without the project manager ensuring that everything happens on time, that you have these timelines, that you have these goals, you're not going to hit them. And if you don't know what the goals look like, because that first thing they said in the demo, it did it like this. I said, that's great. How do you want it to work? Well, I want my ATS system to do this, 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 and this, and it's not doing it, and we need to change. And I told them, I said, did you ever get anybody to just optimize your current system? Did you look at that as an option? No, because it just doesn't do it. They had like the Bentley of systems. Bentley of systems. It does everything. It's not anything that it doesn't actually do. And I was just like, why don't you pause for like 2 weeks and let me contact a salesperson with their IT person to show you every single thing that is a pain point for you.
Right.
and let them show you how it can be solved in your current system. They had every module. They were like, they only had payroll and HR. And I was like, I said, I didn't even know they only did payroll and HR. Like, I didn't even know they split the modules up because the organization was huge. The organization was like 1,500 people. And I was just like, they don't normally split modules up like that, especially for that size.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
Well,
yeah.
we were just on a call recently where, and these are the stories and the reason we share these on this iAM Live is so that some of you can go, okay, yep, that's what's happening with us, or maybe we want to avoid that. But one of the things, we took note of with this client conversation was the fact that they really were using a system, okay, and they kind of felt like they weren't using it to its best ability. But when they told me, now it's one system, and when they told me that the benefits and the payroll weren't even talking, like they were manually exporting things from the benefits to send over to payroll, I knew they didn't probably have anybody that came in there and trained them properly and helped them set it up correctly and empower them to use their system to the fullest. And that's what our passion is, right, Grace? We want to come in and help you find, I think we've got 3 buckets you fall in. You're either going to fix and fall in love with what you got, you're going to maybe need to upgrade what you got because you haven't kept it current, or you're going to replace what you got. But first you have to assess it, right? And see where they're at. And when I have these conversations with clients, I really am not just passionate about it, but I am compassionate because I know the burden that is on the HR teams and the IT teams at most companies. They're trying to run lean. They're trying to, stay tight on the bottom line. And therefore, they are trying to be as scrappy as possible. And I respect that because that's how we run our business. Good business people do that. The problem is if you don't take the time, right, to ahead of time first to define the why, define the requirements, and then make sure when you're doing this, you're training your team. Training is so key, and it just gets thrown out the window. Like, that's an expense we can't afford.
And to add to that, Tammy, I think the more all the conversations we have, requirements is a very broad term. You can Google how to gather your requirements. You can Google it. You can ask a colleague for it. You can ask another HR, leader that, what did you do? And requirements falls in so many different ways. It's properly defining your requirements and the right questions to ask. And it takes time. And organizations, time is money. So we want to rush through that to get to the end because in the moment, it seems like it's just I'm wasting my time. Like I'm going through all these different, departments and asking multiple levels, the C-suites, the VPs, the managers, the employees. All of those individuals are using that system and everyone has a different experience and uses a different part of it. So going through that process with a consultant, with an expert, just like if you were building a home, you wouldn't want someone come in and do your tiling that, is so at it. You want an expert to come in so you have great tiles and that when you walk on them, they're not going to crack. It's the same example, and you could use many different examples, a car, a house, whatever it is, but it has to be done the right way in the beginning so it lasts for a period of time.
Yeah, no, that's so good, Jen. That is. And yeah, I feel like when it comes to what we refer to as the tech Rex, if I ever hear from a C-suite person that says we are in love with our system, everything's running smooth, which I've gotten some of these communications, I write them right back. I said, can I interview you, please? I would really love to hear, I know what we do and the methodology that works, but I'm curious, what did you experience? How did you? So if there's anybody listening, you've got an incredible story of a success story. Everything's running smooth. Systems are talking to each other. I would love to interview you because
even more, employees are happy.
yes.
Everyone's happy and they're happy to get in the system and it does what it wants. The system does what they ask of it. I think that's the other piece is it's easy to say, well, it's great because you don't hear any complaints. but then is every employee that's using it smiling when they go and they log in and they start doing what they need to do based on their department or their role? I think that's another
Yeah,
one.
it's like the call we were in the other day. I feel compassion for these people.
Yeah.
I have been there. Okay. So I started out as an HR coordinator for a large farming company in California, and I handled all the HR stuff. I supported payroll when they went on vacation. And I so related with the stories I was hearing from this client of the disconnect and the reliance on IT and the inability to get reporting and all the things, the broken promises, things that aren't working. And I thought, well, I'm reliving, my life 30 years ago as an HR coordinator, and that's probably why I'm doing what I'm doing now, because just the passion of what we do. Um, but yeah, knowing if you, and we've got some tools actually, we'd be happy to share if anybody's interested, where you can actually evaluate, how you're doing, how to plan for your HR roadmap. Basically, you should have a plan. It's not just going to happen for you. We need to be intentional here.
So as we have our listeners and individuals that will watch this back and view it later, how do you identify, if you're listening and you're an HR leader, how do you identify if you are in a tech wreck? Because let's be honest, most individuals would say it's fine. Like most HR leaders and say managers say it's fine. It works. It does what it's supposed to do. My expectations are not that high. So how do you know if you're in your system? What are some questions to ask, things to look at, from integrations to data integrity to all of those, different areas of the system, if they're in a tech wreck and they should really take a step back and say, okay, is this something we need to fix?
My number one, if you don't know how many integrations you have, it's like the little meme. Oh no. Oh no. If you don't know how many different systems and you decide that the best thing to do to fix it is to get another system that will give you single sign-on, you didn't fix the problem. You didn't magically integrate it. The only thing you did is now you only have to remember the one sign-on. And it's so many companies out here that decided to Frankenstein their system together. And I've asked people, and they were like, oh, well, we have like 7 systems. And I was like, there are only like 6 parts of HR. How do you have 7 systems? And they're like, oh, well, we have something else for engagement, and we separated out compensation, and we use this other thing for evaluations, and then we like to have surveys, and then we want to do personal. And I'm just like, I'm it's not that I'm against it, but when you're adding on so much tech that you're Frankensteining the system together, you have too much. You're not able to evaluate how you're using it, why you're using it, and are you really going through every personality assessment and reading all the current members of the team and then placing the person that took the personality assessment? Or are you going to turn away a great candidate because they have a horrible personality, and horrible in it just doesn't match the current people on the team? Or are you going to say they're adults and they're going to have to figure it out? I
would say also that you're paying for them. Yeah. You're paying for all of those systems. That's the other one. So are you using them, and are you using them in, the proper way?
And I've been guilty of buying systems in the beginning. When I first got to be an HR manager, I just thought I was just the smartest thing in the world. And I went and got all these personality assessments, and then I was reading them and then reorganizing the teams based on what the personality assessment said. And then people were like, but I eat with her at lunch all the time. I love her. I said, well, your personality assessment says that y'all are collaborating. I have to put you where you go. And people were like,
that's so funny.
People were like, Grace, you have to be a little in the gray. I was like, this is what we're paying $2,000 a year to use these assessments. We're going to use these assessments. And I took just a very hard line. And that's when I started having to soften, because I was too much in the binary. It either was a compliment or it wasn't a compliment. And then I started adding on more bolt-ons to make it work, to make the systems work, to make and I realized, even if my HR system or my HCM, because everybody has these different definitions of HRS, HRM, HCM, HRI.
Cover that in the book, by the way.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Identity crisis.
We don't know what we are. We don't know what we want. But once you figure out what your organization needs, it becomes a lot easier to do the assessments. But I tell people, use what's in the system. Figure out a way to make it work and ask yourself, is it mission critical? If it's not mission critical, meaning it's not going to stop you from making a decision, stick with the stuff that's in the system because it was designed with the intention to work together. People have a tendency to think that recruiting is some fairy tale magical love connection, and that you're going to find if you just have the right system. It's like a dating app. I think like they think like, if I swipe left enough times and deny enough people and have my system set up to deny enough people, the people who are left, I will swipe right on every time. And there will only be 3 candidates to choose from. And they'll be the greatest unicorns with purple hair and long tails, and their manes will be magical. And I'll be able to just wish upon the flecks of hair that are beaming from them, and everything will be magical. And I'm sitting there writing.
You just wrote a poem.
And I'm sitting there writing, they want the impossible to be included in the baseline. No.
And let's be real. I mean, it's not easy. I mean, in our business, we are constantly, our VP of operations, Deanna, and I always are getting together looking at what systems are we using, what's effective. I mean, you have to evaluate this regularly because you think about it, there's turnover. You get a new churro, you get a new HR manager. They've got different opinions of what systems they like. So then they're bringing new systems in, or maybe they don't understand the old one. So how many times there's like this, I adopted these systems from when I was hired. And I would say one of the things to determine if you're in a tech rec is also manual processes. Right. What are you doing that is requiring someone to open a file drawer and get out a reminder? Or, and manual includes digital, like if you're actually creating a spreadsheet and sending that over to Susie to upload to payroll. Well, there's tools you can use that can automate these things and streamline them. And that's why we're always like, listen, even if it's not us, get a relationship with a consulting firm that you trust, that knows HR technology, that is going to help guide your path, and create that partnership with them, because in reality, your HR tech journey is ongoing. It's never ending. And now with AI all over the place, there's going to be a lot of more shiny objects out there to pick from.
Yep.
So you really need that advocacy consulting firm that is going to be there. They're the experts in the systems that you're interested in. They're the ones that are going to have the objective view that is going to meet your needs, not the sales guy that's going to tell you everything's going to be glossy. I'm sorry, I fall for those suckers every time. I mean, I'm easy to sell to. I probably shouldn't say that on live something, but
your inbox is going to blow up now.
I know I'm easy to sell to, but it's true. The salespeople can be so charismatic and so believable. And then we, as tech rec, rescue mission, come in because things aren't working, and we have to deliver the sad news that some of the things they were sold don't exist, or they are not set up. And there's a handoff that needs to happen, and it doesn't usually, between the sales and your implementation team.
Tammy, I was a few weeks back, and it's stuck with me. I was having a conversation, and we were talking about manual processes, and it was just a general, chat, I could say. So we were diving into the weeds, and your manual processes, I think, as leaders, first of all, do you know you have them? Are you asking your managers? And then are your managers asking your employees? That's step one, because they're probably going to say no. They're gonna be like, no, it's all integrated. Do you know? And then number two, calculating the time, taking the time to calculate day after day, week after week. How long are these manual processes taking? That's taking up the time from that employee that equals over to money wasted. Money and time wasted on these processes that could be automated, could be integrated. However, go ahead, Grace. But like that taking the time to actually figure that out is
Mm.
so important.
Jen, I was working with a client, and I love these clients. I love them. And they told me what they wanted from the beginning. And then the first week they thought I was like the most inefficient person in the world because
Mm.
I looked at everything that they did and I made a whole spreadsheet from every aspect of HR. I mean, I looked at every different aspect, total rewards, ATS, hiring, everything, firing, retirements, safety, everything. And I plotted how much time did they spend in that week on those tasks. I calculated them out and then told them, you have like 15 areas that nobody is responsible for. So these 15 things are always late. So
Mm.
then the manager was like, "Oh, that's what you've been doing?" Yes, I've been writing out all your policies and procedures that aren't notated anywhere so that we can, write them down somewhere so that if you hire another person because he had a new
I
team,
know.
he was new. I was like, well, now there's nobody who really knows how to do anything. So now when you're trying to hire somebody that's a unicorn. They
Yep.
already have to know how to work this system. And I said, that's not really necessary. Let's do it like this. And he was like, okay, I'm open to it. That's why I love working with him because he was always like, okay, I'm open to it. And
Yeah.
once he saw the work, and people do have a tendency to think that Microsoft will solve all your issues and pain points. If I can just put it in projects, it's okay. It's taken care of. It's not. It's
Isn't that
automated.
true?
Then it's
Right.
automated, isn't it? Isn't it automated once you put it in Microsoft
Yeah,
Teams?
yes.
Please let it be
Yes.
so.
But what I
Yes.
what I have to explain to people is, okay, it's so many steps that you don't really realize go into making it
Mhm.
an easy system. You have to tell me from the beginning. Do you want to be hands-on or do you want me to deliver a finished product? Because if you want a finished product, I need to know what you consider finished. Because my definition of finish is it works and now you're going into training, and training may take 3 or 4 weeks. So you will have a project in your head mapped out saying it should only take 6 weeks for her to finish this. Yeah, for me to finish it, it will take 6 weeks. For me to teach you, it will take an additional 6 weeks because you don't
Right.
you
And that
work
you be open to learning to change.
Right, right.
And I
exactly.
think that's the one, having an open mindset and taking a step back. So we covered how many integrations you have. If you want some takeaways from this chat here this morning for going back to your organization, how many integrations do you have? And then manual processes. Can we give the viewers, the listeners, our friends one more?
One
Tammy or
more.
Grace, give them one more takeaway.
So we got manual processes, but I mean, I think knowing your
Integrations.
processes, your integrations and manual processes. Okay, a third one, um, the one that messes everybody up, workflows and security levels.
Mm.
That's a good one.
Because people will say that the
Chris.
system doesn't do it and it doesn't work right and it's not sent it to the right person, but they never gave that person the right security level, or it was tied, or the original workflow was tied to a person and not the title
Yeah,
of the
Getting
person who.
into the weeds now.
Oh yeah.
that's good.
Getting into the weeds.
And I'm gonna take us to a higher level because that's how I think. I would just encourage the listeners, especially if you're in a leadership role over the HR technology of your business, to really evaluate. Just take some time and evaluate what you have, map it out. Where you can actually, what we like to do is take all your systems, because I know there's more than one or two, and we map it and show how they're talking to each other and if it's manual and digital and all those things. So take time to really evaluate your systems, look at it, and then ask, are these really fulfilling our business needs? And is their user adoption strong? Because there's a 42% fail rate on all these tech implementations that are going on. I think that's atrocious. That's leading to $2.4 trillion being lost annually just here in the States. You guys, we got to stop this. We got to help. I want to turn the siren off, okay? Let's
I
start
know.
coming to the table with let's have a picnic instead because things are running smooth. So I know we're ending our time here shortly.
I know we could chat for hours.
Yeah.
We
Um,
could.
Grace, we'll have to have you back after we've got more time to dive into some of these stories. But I just thank you for joining us. I mean, heck, we hang out anyway because we work together. But I just glad the rest of the audience could meet you because you're incredible at what you do. We
Incredible.
value all the hard work you put in to help our clients. and just love spending this time with you this morning.
Well, thank
right,
you. I love
catch
being
us.
on.
Catch us next time.
Yep. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
See you later.
Bye, everybody.